there, movie fans. Oh my gosh, we are so excited, not only because we are back with a brand new episode of FYC, the very best, most energetic and informed award show, weekly award show you will find anywhere in the solar system. But the actors' strike is over. We're back in action, back in the horse, going crazy. There's way too much going on, and I'm sure we would not have it any other way. Welcome to a brand new episode of FYC. Joining me as always is the amazing Perri, Nemiroff, and the mighty Jeff Snyder. From now until March 10th, 2024, every week, we are going to be looking at the ups and downs of award season. And right before the Oscars on March 10th, just a couple days before, there is another event happening in Hollywood called the Publicist Guild Awards, where one of the 5 press award nominees is our own Paranormal Activity herself, Perri Nemiroff. Big congrats on your press awards nomination.
I had no clue where you were going with that for a minute.
Well, Perri, just like every other nominee, has been asked for 100 years from all sorts of award shows. How does it feel to be nominated?
My brain melted when I saw that. Like, I just didn't know how to process that. But also, like, clearly I love what I do very much. And I'm very grateful to get to do it. After spending so many years in this industry, I have so much respect for publicists and everything they have to go through and all the people that they have to work with in order to like make their job happen, make their work happen. So the fact that, you know, like they of all people think I'm worthy of this nomination, just like it makes my heart burst, because there's some special people in that guild, and I admire them very much. So I appreciate them giving me this honor.
Absolutely. I know exactly how you feel. And I think brain melting has never been said when it came to a reaction for a nomination. With that, we are going to cover the screenplay nominations on this episode of FYC. Original screenplay and adapted screenplay. We're going to start off with original screenplay. Well, Perri, what is your number one choice for a nomination for Best Original Screenplay?
I don't know if we should start with my number one. I have a question first.
Okay.
Is there any determination on where Barbie is going to land?
I thought the same thing. Jeff, maybe you can enlighten us because you are the Snyder.
I have no official insight, but I do think it will wind up being an original screenplay.
See, I thought it was adapted, and that's where I put it.
That's where Gold Derby has it. A lot of other sites and you know, like my read on it is it feels original, but I mean, it is adapted. It's adapted based off of a toy, so
yeah,
maybe it's adapted.
I'm keeping it in adapted.
What is it taking from the toy, though? It's just taking the names Barbie and Ken, and there's a Malibu Dreamhouse. Like, is that really like?
Well, so for the purpose of this conversation, where are we putting it, Jeff?
I think it's an original. I have it at number one on original screenplay.
Perri, what do you think? Should we put
the only reason I have it on my original list right now is because I always work off of my Gold Derby list, and that's where it's placed. But I am of the belief that if a script is made based on something that previously existed, no matter what it is adapted from that thing, whether it's a toy, whether it's a book, whether it's a comic book. Like I could go on and on.
I have it in adapted, but if you both have it in original, then I don't know. Oh, well, regardless, let's just go on. Okay, so Perri, if you both have it in original, then I'll move my choice to original. Perri, where do you have Barbie on your list for original screenplay?
Barbie right now is my number 3 on original screenplay. I don't think it really matters which category of screenplay it's in. I think it's going to get a nomination regardless, but you know, it's a pretty solid script. Personally, and I've rewatched it since, I notice a lot of people in the comments are like, Perri just loves Barbie. She's just putting it on the list because she loves Barbie so much. I do like Barbie a lot, but I was not someone who walked out of my screening like sky high, thinking it was the greatest movie of the year. And I think one of its weaker spots is the screenplay. I think elements of the screenplay are exceptionally smart, very well written, very creative, but there's like little bits here and there where, I wanted more from it. But regardless of my feelings, I think it's getting on this list. And right now I have it at 3.
Hey, Jeff, you have it at number 1.
I have it at number 1, just because, I mean, obviously this was a real, true phenomenon, and I think that this movie just wound up so much better than anyone was expecting. Like, you have to give them credit for that. It is Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig, so, I think that the Academy already is inclined to like these people, and success never hurts. Do I think that they're going to win? I don't know about that, but I think that they're a lock for a nomination, yes.
Okay, moving this over to original because I did have it on adapted. I'm going to put this at number 3 on my list. I think it's either way, adapted, original, regardless. It's definitely getting nominated. But there are, in both cases, original and adapted movies that I like more, that I think are better written, and I think will get more love for screenplay nominations. And my number 1 choice here in original screenplay is The Holdovers by David Hemmingson. I think this is a crowd pleaser. It's a film that I've seen a couple times now, and the more I see it, the more I love it. It's a film that stayed with me the most when I saw it at Telluride, and I think that it now that more people are seeing it, the timing, it's riding a wave, and especially now that the actors can get out and really push it. It's more people are going to talk about it. Perri, where do you have Holdovers on your list?
Number 1.
Number 1. There you go.
I second a lot of what you just said. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. As I've been saying, I think it's only going to climb in the ranks and have better chances in a number of categories. This is a special one, and I think it's going to get a lot of love and nominations and ultimately wins too.
All right, Jeff, how about you? Holdovers. Where are you holding it?
I have it at number 3 at the moment. Okay. I love The Holdovers. I'm not quite sure it's like the screenplay is perfect, but it's pretty damn close. David Hemmingson is an exciting newcomer. He kind of came out of nowhere with this screenplay. But yeah, I couldn't quite bring myself to put it at number 1.
Okay, well, what is your number 2, Jeff?
My number 2, I went with Celine's song for Past Lives. I just think that that's a case where she's probably not going to get a director nomination, but she will be rewarded in the writing category, which is kind of what I feel about Greta Gerwig. Like, Greta Gerwig is going to get nominated for Best Director, but she's not going to win, which is why I think that maybe they'll reward her for Barbie in the screenplay category. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, Past Lives, just a beautiful screenplay. Beautiful,
exquisite, just elegant screenplay of an elegant film that has stayed the course for the last almost 12 months since it premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. Yeah, number 2 is Where I Have Past Lives. And Perri, how about you?
2.
2 it is. All right, then, Perri, what's next on your list that we haven't got?
Does that mean we're all in agreement on the top 3?
Let's see. Holdovers, Past Lives, Barbie. Yes.
Yep. All right. Here's where things get interesting. Right now, my number 4 is Maestro. I'm feeling pretty good about its chances, given who is involved, and also because personally, I loved this movie. I thought it was beautifully done across the board, the screenplay included. I really love the fact that it didn't feel like a script that hinged on a starting point and a clear end, where everything was leading towards that particular event. It felt more like a slice of life, like I got to experience life with them for a period of time. It worked very well for me. I will say I have heard some mixed reactions. I'm curious if that winds up catching up to the movie, but I loved it, and I do think it's deserving of being in this category and many, many others.
I have Maestro at number 4 as well. I agree. To build on everything that Perri said, I think that this is a movie that Bradley Cooper co-wrote it with Josh Singer, who wrote First Man. And I think just to cover this guy's life, cover Leonard Bernstein's life in a way that they did, where it wasn't so much about his career, but about his family, really, his marriage and his not struggles, but, being bisexual at a time when being bisexual wasn't like, just out there, but I think Maestro I love the film. I think it's great. I think Bradley Cooper is definitely getting nominated for Best Actor. I think he's a front runner to win, but I think this movie definitely gets nominated for original screenplay. Jeff, where is Maestro on your list?
At the top of the honorable mentions.
Whoa.
The cut. I don't think the screenplay for Maestro was anything to write home about. It was, I felt like I'd seen it in its scenes before. I think a lot of, the Academy reception to that is going to come down to a generational divide. I think that the new Academy kids, the new younger members, I don't think that Maestro really does anything for those folks. I think that the older voters will respond to it, and it's all a matter of how many there are of them versus the rest.
All right, well then, Jeff, what's next on your list that we did not get to?
At number 4, I went with Anatomy of a Fall, an international contender. I just think that is a very, very well-written movie that keeps you on your toes, keeps you guessing, and I do expect the international segment of voters to come through for that movie.
I love Anatomy of a Fall. It is number 2 on my honorable mentions. But I would have no problem putting it up into the top 5 if that's where this conversation is going. Perri, is Anatomy of a Fall in your top 5?
It is not, but it's firmly in my honorable mentions.
Firmly, yes.
Yeah.
My next 2 movies that are on my list are movies that I think belong there, but I think could be replaced if the conversation warrants stronger contenders.
Wait a second. Wait. Maestro is your 4, so you're doing your number 5 now, right?
I'm sorry. I haven't listed number 4 because I moved Barbie over. Yeah. So Maestro is 4. I had it listed at 3 because I forgot to change the numbers when I moved Barbie over. All right. So yes, I have Maestro at 4. So my number 5, there's the movie that I think probably will get nominated. And then there's the movie that I really, 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 really want to get nominated because I just think the screenplay just was crackling and razor sharp and just super tight. Jeff, what am I going to say?
Is it Fair Play?
No.
Air.
Air.
I thought you were good at that, Jeff.
Why are people forgetting about Air? My God, this movie was great.
I could give you a lot of reasons, Vance.
I love Air.
I love Air
awesome. Too. I thought Alex Convery's screenplay was just spectacular, but because it it closed out South by Southwest back in March, which, it certainly didn't hurt Everything Everywhere All at Once last year. But I just don't think that enough people are talking about this movie. If you haven't seen Air, it's streaming on Amazon Prime. It's just an excellent, excellent movie directed by Ben Affleck. Alex Convery just wrote a spectacular screenplay. I have it at number 5, and I'm guessing neither of you do. And the other movie that I really liked a lot that I had in my top 5 until I moved Barbie over was May December, written by Sammy Birch and Alex Mechanik. So, where are you guys going with the rest of this here?
I still haven't given my number 5 and no one's mentioned it. I'll admit that it is one of the honorable mentions that maybe doesn't have the best chance. I do think Anatomy of a Fall is a chance. May December also is pretty high up in my honorable mentions. But because it feels like such a toss-up, I decided to go with my heart, my personal preference at this point in time. And I'm giving my number 5 to Saltburn because
Saltburn's great.
I think that's an exceptionally well-written script. And now that I've seen it twice, I can confirm what I expected after my first viewing. It is one of those movies that gets richer and richer with every rewatch. And there's a lot of lines in that movie that are like stuck in my brain. Like they're vicious and mean, but I enjoy repeating them. And then there's a couple of monologues too. Like there's one particular monologue that Alison Oliver gets towards the tail end of the film that is like, to me, like a perfectly written scene. I thought that was exceptional. And then of course, very well performed, but Saltburn's a real damn good movie. And I think the script is like one of the best parts of it, but also surrounded by a number of departments delivering top-notch work. So put Saltburn on the list.
Saltburn is number 1 on my honorable mention. I love Saltburn as well. I mean, and I agree that the more you see it, the more you get out of it. The screenplay, it's definitely the cinematography, but Lena Sandgren, who won an Oscar for La La Land, is just magnificent. But Emerald Fennell, who won the Academy Award. What's yours?
The problem is that this is called Best Original Screenplay, and there's not a whole lot that's original about Saltburn. This is
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know what he said. Go ahead, Jeff. Keep going.
this is Tom Ripley all over again.
Yeah.
No, my number 5 is Fair Play. That is, the generational divide that I was talking about. This is a movie that speaks to young voters. I think it's wildly original. I think Chloe Demont did a great job with it. So yeah, I have Maestro, May, December, and Air at 6, 7, 8, and I'm going with Chloe at 5.
You know what? I'm not going to argue with that because I love Fair Play, and another movie that premiered at Sundance, and this was, I think it's probably my favorite movie that I saw at Sundance, next to Past Lives. Chloe Demont just, wrote and directed a fantastic movie, and the only thing that's holding it off is I just don't know. I don't know enough people are talking about Fair Play. They should. Perri, how would you feel if we put Fair Play in our top 5?
I thought Fair Play was very, very good. I think it's deserving to be in the conversation, but I think for the reasons that you just said, man, I think it's just too far outside the realm of possibility right now. No one's talking about it enough and enough in that way.
I hear you guys, and I'm fine taking her off. But here's the thing: that's like Saltburn, Maestro. These are awards movie titles, and Fair Play is not. It's not in the conversation
Right,
to the extent
right.
those movies are. But when you take out that stuff, right? To me, it's just a far better screenplay, and I think that writers will recognize that.
I agree with you. And so many times during FYC over these last 4 years since we've been doing this, we've all been guilty of letting our hearts overrule our heads when it comes to predicting nominations and wins.
I think you guys are using your heads, like Maestro, Saltburn. These are awards contenders, and Fair Play is not in that conversation. So I
really think
you're using your heart over your head. I think you're doing the smart thing, but
using my head and my heart, because I did love Maestro. I think Maestro stays in the top 5. I think it gets nominated. As for that, last spot, look, I love Air. I think it's a long shot to get nominated because, again, even though, when it dropped at South by Southwest, that last screening was like, you've all been to South by. Perri, you've been there like a million times. You know what the energy in that room is like. When people love a movie in Austin, Texas, and South by, it's like, it's better than Toronto. It's better than Sundance. There is nothing like the crowd at South by Southwest. But, Air, just like Fair Play, for different reasons, it's not being talked about. It may be because it's March. I actually think after this conversation, I'm going to take out Air, but now I'm torn between Saltburn for that number 5 spot and Anatomy of a Fall.
Okay, so let me interject. I will put Maestro on my list, right? So we have the 3 that we agreed on, and now Maestro. But I think Anatomy of a Fall needs to be the 5th one as opposed to Saltburn. I think this is like a crazy conversation to be having.
I definitely don't think it's a crazy conversation, and I want Saltburn to be on the list. Again, just personal preferences, but I do think it's a very realistic possibility that Anatomy of a Fall gets this nomination. So I'm willing to put that in the 5 spot.
I agree, Perri. I love Saltburn. I was ready to put it on the list. And go ahead. What you're going to say, Perri?
There's one more we didn't mention.
Which is what?
Origin.
Oh my God, that movie's absolutely. That's a screenplay. That is a best screenplay.
If I were to adjust my list right now, if let's say Barbie is not in this category, my list would probably look like Holdovers, Past Lives, Maestro, Saltburn, Origin, then Anatomy of a Fall. That's just my personal list.
Look, Origin is extraordinary. I hung on every word of that movie, and I was like, while I was watching that film, the screenplay written by Ava DuVernay, who also directed the movie, like I was like nodding my head in unison with some of the things during those conversations, or shaking my head at just some of the connections that movie makes between slavery and the Holocaust. I mean, it's a extraordinary movie written and directed by Ava DuVernay. I think she has topped herself as a filmmaker, and that's saying a lot because I love Selma and I loved Middle of Nowhere. which was a Sundance winner back in the aughts. But okay, if we take Barbie off, geez, oh my God.
I'm just playing. We've committed to keeping Barbie in this category. I'm just kind of like playing around with because we don't know with any certainty at this point. So I'm just playing around with that idea if it happens.
Origin's a good call. I have Origin at 10 on my list. I just have to see it, so that may shoot up the ranks once they get a look at the movie. The only other movie
Origin. I feel like Origin is a Jeff Snyder movie. I feel like it's a movie you're really going to like. But for the purpose of this conversation, leaving Barbie on the list, I'm right there with you, Perri, about Saltburn. I'm on the fence between Saltburn and Anatomy of a Fall, making the 5. But I do think just Anatomy of a Fall is, everyone's talking about this movie. Everyone is talking about this movie. And I think that I think it makes the cut. If it's okay with the both of you and everyone watching, you can let us know in the comments section below, and make sure you subscribe to Perri's channel while you're there. That our original screenplay top 5 will be The Holdovers, Barbie, Past Lives, Maestro, and Anatomy of a Fall. How do we feel about those 5?
Yep.
Good. Also, just as a shout out, I loved Dream Scenario starring Nicolas Cage. That movie is awesome. I think that, in another world that gets in the top 5, but it might be a little too out there. And also there's a lot of competition. Okay, let's move on to adapted screenplay. So since we started original with the amazing Perri Nemiroff, we're going to turn to the mighty Jeff Snyder for adapted screenplay. Jeff, what's at the top of your list?
Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer. Come on down. I think like to do a 3-hour biopic about a theoretical physicist and have it gross almost $1 billion is really a testament to the story that you're telling. I think Nolan did a really good job with this screenplay, even if the third act, maybe doesn't quite fit with the first two, in my opinion.
I agree with that, but it's still extraordinary film, extraordinary screenplay, one where I felt like, and I said this after I saw Oppenheimer, I said the star of that movie is actually the screenplay, because to be almost 3 hours long and to be riveted, regardless of how uneven the third act is with the first two.
Right, it's still interesting in and of its on its own. Yes,
exactly. All right, Perri, where is Oppenheimer on your adapted screenplay list?
Oppenheimer is my number 1, and I feel like I haven't really spoken on FYC about how I felt about the movie, because I didn't see it when it first came out, and I came to it like a lot later than people. And just recently, they sent me the Blu-ray, because the Blu-ray is coming out, and I did a couple of interviews, and that gave me the opportunity to watch it like quite a few times, like probably too many times, when I should have been watching other things for the first time. And I still can't get over the fact that I am like so riveted by a 3-hour movie to the point that I feel like it flies and I need to keep watching it. And, this speaks to every single layer of that production, but kind of what Jeff said, the fact that this movie so successfully puts you in his shoes, in his head, and like kind of makes you understand, like physics and atomic energy. And like on top of that, the human elements, like the pressure he's under and like the duality of the situation. I feel like it all starts with the screenplay and then is like built up by other elements of the production. But it's a screenplay that should be honored.
I'm really glad to hear you say that you liked watching it at home, because I saw it twice in IMAX. And by the way, everyone watching this FYC, if you can catch Oppenheimer in IMAX now, because I think it is back in IMAX theaters, absolutely do so. I mean, first of all, IMAX is amazing anyway, but Nolan makes movies for IMAX, and this is an IMAX film 100%. I have Oppenheimer at number 2. 2. I could switch it to number 1, but it's getting nominated. It'll probably win. But the movie I went for my number 1 is American Fiction by Cord Jefferson. Now, do you go with the, why are we talking about wins? All right, number 1 is American Fiction. I just felt that this was a movie that had a lot to say. It was funny and provocative without being, I never felt like I was being beaten over the head at all. That's really hard to do, with a movie with something to say without pushing your buttons. But Cord Jefferson is a newcomer. He's a new voice. And I sure did love what he had to say. I loved American Fiction. If it's not a front runner to win Best Picture, I think this is a screenplay type of movie all the way. So, like Best Picture could go to Oppenheimer, Best Adapted Screenplay could go to American Fiction. But where, Jeff Snyder, is American Fiction on your list?
I have it firmly at number 2. And, I think you're right. It could end up being the winner. It could end up being a split where Chris Nolan wins Best Director and Cord Jefferson gets Best Adapted Screenplay. But I just think it's interesting that we're talking about these two movies in this category, and you guys both had The Holdovers at number 1 in original screenplay. That's what I think the Best Picture race is. I think it's American Fiction and The Holdovers trying to nip at the heels of the big dog, Oppenheimer. So yeah, Cord Jefferson did a great job with the American Fiction. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It was way more than I was even expecting. And I understand why it won that audience award in Toronto.
Speaking of big dog, I got a little dog here. Looks like he has to go out. Just wait. I'll take you out in a few minutes. Wait, no, not now. Don't give me that sad puppy dog eyed look. God, he gets me all the time. All right. Perri, what about you? American Fiction.
American Fiction is my number 3. I feel very certain about my top 3, and I would be very happy personally if all 3 were nominated and one was the winner in the end. I think American Fiction is exceptional, and I think we're kind of talking about a similar narrative as Past Lives and Celine's Song. A really exceptional feature directorial debut with an exquisitely written film, and I think both of them, while maybe we should be considering them more seriously in the Best Director category, I don't think they have that chance here. But I think that the Academy will just shift that love to them personally, at least via the writing. So I think it's undeniable. American Fiction is going to be on this list.
Well, what's your number 2, Perri?
My number 2 is Poor Things. I love this movie. I love this movie so, so much. This is a concept that shouldn't work. It feels like if I had read the source material, I might have been like, yeah, it's one thing to make an idea like this work as a book, but how are you ever going to bring this to life on screen? And again, a lot of departments are responsible for that working, but it starts with the screenplay. And I think this is an extremely well-written piece in terms of shouldering the evolution of this really curious character and having her land in a spot that is profoundly meaningful and moving.
All right, Jeff, where is Poor Things on your list?
I have it at number 3. I think Tony McNamara, he won for The Favor, right? Did he win?
Oh, did he?
Thanks. That one screenplay?
I forget, but I do think that Poor Things is a movie that will get 6 to 8 nominations or whatever. I don't think it's going to win a whole bunch of awards, but it'll be in the mix, and it'll be in the mix here.
I have Poor Things at number. Oh wait, no wait. I have it at number 3. I'm crossing off Barbie on this. Jesus, so confusing. Poor Things I have at number 3, and I don't think there's been a movie this fall that has stayed with me and has made me think about it more, other than, Holdovers for a different reason, but because Poor Things is such an ambitious, wild, out there film that, like you said, Perri, shouldn't work, but boy, it does. So I agree. Poor Things is number 3. We all have it at number 3 on our list. No, right?
It for the record, The Favorite didn't win screenplay.
Okay, great.
I would love to be able to tell you what did win that year, but because IMDb is unusable,
All right, my bad on that.
All right, so our top 3 are Oppenheimer, American Fiction, and Poor Things. So Jeff, what's next on your list? I think I know what it is.
What do you think it is?
Killers of the Flower Moon.
No.
Oh, okay.
I have Killers of the Flower Moon at 5 and clinging to that 5th slot. I think that movie is not particularly, the best written, but I'm just it's a thin field. I feel like,
I agree. Adapted is a thin field.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared to take Killers out, so I have that at 5. Where do you have
Perri, where do you have Killers of the Flower Moon?
I have it at number 4, but slipping. That's, I've been saying this in a number of categories. I feel like Killers of the Flower Moon is currently on these lists because of the award season packaging, and it's an obvious contender. But I think the further we get away from its release, the more we're going to see it drop, not in all categories, but certain categories, this being one.
Look, I think that Killers of the Flower Moon is a movie that I definitely admired. I admired a lot about it, and I think that's why, it's number 4 for me as well. And again, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's 3.5 hours long, like whatever, get over it. But that was another film where I really hung on every word. And I do think it is a very, very well written, if over long film. And I think it gets nominated, stays. It's maybe clinging in some ways, but I still think it makes the cut. All right. So Jeff, what's number 4 on your list?
My number 4 is the little movie this season, I think. And that is Searchlight. Other movie that is being overshadowed by Poor Things, despite being a stronger contender. All of Us Strangers from Andrew Haigh. Listen, I saw this movie with Stephanie. Stephanie does not cry during movies. I cry
Stephanie
during.
Who?
My lady.
Oh.
And she wept during this movie. I think that the issue with this thing, which is what I wrote in my newsletter yesterday. This is being chalked up, or not dismissed, but chalked up as like a gay movie, like a Call Me by Your Name or Brokeback Mountain. It's so much more than that.
Absolutely.
This is a movie for anyone who lost a parent before they could tell them the truth about themselves. It's not necessarily about being gay or coming out of the closet. It's anything. So I think this is a absolutely beautiful screenplay, and I think that if it's recognized in any category, it will be this one.
I have All the Strangers at number 5 on my list, and I think that's a great way to put it. I did not see this as a Call Me by Your Name. It is just a beautifully exquisite film, so well acted. It's so bare, you know what I mean? Like, it's so raw. There's not a lot of bells and whistles at all, especially given what the concept is, what the plot is. There could have been some, bells and whistles there, but it's a wonderful film, extremely well written. Andrew Haigh, extremely superbly acted. Perri, is it on your list at all?
It's not, but it would be my top honorable mentions. So I would be willing to bump out my number 5 and give All of Us Strangers the slot instead, because my number 5 is The Zone of Interest. And I still think no matter what, Zone of Interest has a chance to get into this category. But I don't know. I'm a little torn between, I guess probably just those two for my number 5. I think there's obviously other honorable mentions that maybe are kind of in the conversation, but two more.
There are 2 others I think that are really in the conversation.
I'm curious what you mean by really in the conversation, because I do think in this particular category it's there's the top tier honorable mentions, and then there's a pretty big gap between what comes next.
I thought Dumb Money was an excellent film by Rebecca Angelo and Lauren Schuker-Bloom. I could see that maybe getting nominated, even though the movie didn't do well at all. But, maybe the Academy voters and guild members saw it because it's a extremely well written. I think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse by Dave Callahan, Phil Lord, and Chris Miller was excellent movie. Definitely probably the front runner to win Best Animated Feature if the Turtles don't take it, because Turtles does deserve it as well. Turtles was awesome. Mutant Mayhem, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I thought that movie was great. But also, Zone of Interest, Perri, I have that on my honorable mention as well. But I think, whoever said that this is a sort of a weaker category than original screenplay is right on the money. I think our 5 is...
The Zone of Interest is a directorial achievement. I don't see how it comes into screenplay whatsoever. There's nothing going on in this movie. The 2 honorable mentions that I have that I think actually stand a chance are Julia Cox for Naiad and Sofia Coppola for Priscilla.
Jeff is so funny. Ever since the conversation came up about the Zone of Interest, he's like, nope. It's stop trying to make Fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
Excuse me, man. Fetch is happening in January.
Fetch is oh, that's right. You're right. It is happening in January. Oh, look, everything's changing.
I also
all
just wait. I just got really confused again.
Why?
Isn't Origin based on a book?
Yep, they ruled it. It is based on Case, the Isabel Wilkerson book, but they ruled it originally, I think.
So that's like a firm ruling. Like that's a done deal.
No, I don't think the Academy has ruled or anything like that. I don't know if it's just being, if it's a guild ruler. I don't know what it is really, but
all right. Well, listen. Regardless, like we always say, we are going to revisit these categories.
Wait, can I give one more shout out to one?
Yep.
So this is another one that I think is too far, like at the bottom of the conversation, and it shouldn't be. I thought Society of the Snow was an incredible adaptation, and like that's a story that people are familiar with, yet the team behind that script managed to find a way to like do something like new-ish and like uniquely theirs with the material. And one of the things that I think this movie does exceptionally well with that story is like put the audience in their shoes, in their experience, but also put a heavy emphasis on the fact that literally everybody involved in that situation like mattered and had weight. Even if it wasn't a character that got the most amount of screen time, you still felt what they meant to like the people there, to their loved ones. And I really like one of my biggest takeaways from that movie was how impressed I was by how many people, like how many names I remembered after. And I don't know, isn't that one of like the greatest values in bringing a true tragedy to screen, is just to honor the people that went through that and make sure that audiences know them and their impact on the loved ones in their lives.
Well,
Perri, I'm so glad.
Just convinced me to see it. I haven't even seen it yet, but
I'm so glad you brought up that movie because it's the best awards movie of the season. It, like literally, it's better than Holdovers, better than American Fiction, better than Oppenheimer. It was the best awards movie I've seen this year. I don't know why Netflix is holding it for like the last day of the year.
But is it better than Indy? The puppy.
No, nothing's better than Indy.
Dog. Look at that little puppy. Hello, everybody. Watching FYC.
I finally just saw Priscilla, and now all I could picture is her walking around with the dog. Like, there's one scene where she's carrying the dog, and the dog is just like, legs out.
All right. So here's what we're going to do for our top 5 for adapted screenplay: Oppenheimer, American Fiction, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, All of Us Strangers. Are we good? Are
Jeff,
we?
I'm surprised you didn't bring up Blackberry.
Blackberry's great.
I just don't. Again, I love Blackberry. It's amazing, but I just don't think of it as an awards movie. I don't think IFC is doing enough.
Well, you know what? Don't count out the Spirit Awards because that's where movies like that usually go. All right. So there you go. Our top 5 for adapted screenplay: Oppenheimer, American Fiction, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, and All of Us Strangers. So there you have original and adapted screenplay. Let us know what you think of our choices in the comment section below. As always, make sure you subscribe to Perri Nemiroff's YouTube channel. Just hit subscribe. It's that easy. You can be alerted to everything that she drops on her amazing channel. Make sure you share FYC on all your social media platforms. And Jeff Snyder, tell us about your brand new newsletter, The In Snyder.
You for a little plug time. Yeah, you can go to theinsnyder.com, sign up for my newsletter. I'm trying to do it every day. You're going to get a couple thousand words out of me, Oscar stuff. So, I mean, you guys love FYC. This is bonus Oscar content from me, and hopefully some scoops and reviews and interviews too. So thank you.
And also absolutely check out Jeff on the Hot Mic with John Stephen Roca, where he breaks more news than the trades. And that's saying a lot. And it's also the truth. So be sure to join us next time on FYC, where we cover, well, you know, I'm not sure yet, but we will always figure it out. Until then, welcome back, actors, and FY. See you later.